And we're on the air, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sports Chat. A lot to talk about this week. I'm going to start out on a really down note. Of course, Campbell County fell to Central last night.
Bad.
But even worse, reports are that Tuffy Shoop is done for the season.
Yeah, he took a pretty hard hit. It was about, halfway through the second quarter?
Mm-hmm. He continued to play for a bit.
But it got, because he was trying to tough it out, but it got so bad that Matt and Justin pulled him out of the game and played Ethan Miller at quarterback. So that's a tough loss for this young Cougar squad.
Yeah. That's going to be tough dealing with these last three games without him, And you could tell last night that he didn't look like himself.
Wasn't running the ball quite like he had.
The ball, his passes, they were a little off. Just a lot of bad things happened for Campbell County last night. There was a lot of plays that almost should have happened that didn't quite happen. That set them back. Central got Cody Blank back last week, and he frankly dominated the game.
He proves why he's a UT signing.
You can see why they offered him when he went to their football camp. I mean, he has speed to burn, breaks tackles, a pretty big kid. Ran Ethan Miller down. Ethan Miller's run a lot of defenses this year. Ran Ethan Miller down from behind and stripped the ball in the same play. It's a spectacular play.
It was an impressive showing by Blank.
But the plays were in place a lot of times. Like on his first long touchdown run, he got hit 3 times in the backfield.
He was just able to shed tackles.
He just shed the tackles, and then once he got the corner, he was gone. You couldn't catch him. And there's some pass plays during the game that the receiver was wide open, would have been touchdowns. But one of them, I remember specifically, Campbell County was down next to their goal line, and Justin was standing a couple of spots down from me while I was filming, and he even yelled out touchdown. But the ball just sailed a little long, and that's after Tuffy had hurt his shoulder. The play was there, the receiver was open. It's just, Campbell County just didn't quite execute a lot of the plays that were in place for them. Should have blocked a punt. Just didn't get what they needed out of the punt block squad.
Well, there was one. I mean, it was there. I don't really know what the player was thinking. He just sailed right by the punter.
He was right in front of the punter. I mean, he was right in front of the punter when the kick went off.
They snapped the ball, and the ball landed probably 5 yards in front of the punter and rolled to him. And he could have tackled him while he had the ball, but he just ran by him. I'm not sure if he didn't want to get a rough in the punter, didn't think he had the ball still or what. I don't know. Maybe he lost sight of him kicking. But, it's just little plays like that, and Tuffy being hurt, and it just built up to a big Central win. I mean, Central's a different team with Cody Blank. And now he's back. They're 2-0 and have had 2 dominating wins.
Ethan Miller had a really good career as a middle school quarterback. I think hopefully after a week of practice he can really settle into the position. He
came in and led them on a touchdown drive late in the game, and he had some big runs. He had 152 yards rushing last night. He needed a little bit better ball security on that one fumble.
Right. But he thought he was so. I mean, it's no excuse, but he was so far down the field, and he's outran everyone all season.
Yeah, he had a lot of rushing yards, and he was about the only thing going well on offense for Campbell County, and they still were able to not stop him. And so he came in at quarterback. He ran some pretty good option plays. Hopefully, after practicing during the week, he'll be able to get some of the throwing down a little bit, because that's just a tough loss losing your starting quarterback.
Unfortunately, the road gets much harder this week.
It does.
I mean, honestly, I love the Cougars and think they're doing well up there. I'm not sure if it mattered who was playing quarterback with the opponent we have coming up this week.
The Powell Panthers.
Powell is just they're dominating just about everyone they play.
They are probably the best 5A team in the state.
I'm not certain if anybody's been within 4 touchdowns of them this year.
Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge played them closer than anybody.
I think they still blew Oak Ridge out, though, didn't
they? It was only a 10-point loss, I think. But I think it was 27-17.
I was thinking it was a much bigger loss than that.
That was the first half.
And speaking of Oak Ridge, we was keeping up with their score against Cougars last night. Apparently, Oak Ridge got not only their quarterback starting again, but also 4 or 5 other players that were on injured reserve. So they're a completely healthy squad now.
They dominate.
It is unfortunate for them that this happened so late in the season after they've had a struggling season. But and on the other hand, that is pretty bad news for us considering we play them in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I can see now why they were able to dominate Anderson County last week and dominate Cougars this week. Up until this point in the season, Cougars I thought was the best team we had faced all year.
Yeah.
You know, the way they played against us anyway. And Central played equally as well as Cougars last night, but part of that, of course, because Tuffy was hurt and our offense wasn't able to move the ball as well as it should have been.
Because we moved the ball decently well in the first half.
Mainly because of Blank. Blank was that elite of an athlete. I mean, Cougars still overall had more speed on defense and a few other areas, but to see them get dominated by Oak Ridge, that's pretty. You know, I thought Oak Ridge might be a winnable game, but now it's any game's winnable before you play it. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
But gosh, it's going to be tough.
Let me ask you guys, just throwing this out there, because I'm confused. What are Campbell County's colors?
Blue and orange.
Blue and orange. Not black. Not black. Not black. Those black jerseys look terrible. And also to be, I hate to be superstitious, but what? Both times they've worn those jerseys, they didn't just get beat; they got dominated on.
The one thing we'll probably see the black jerseys again against Halls.
That's terrible.
Simply because that's all they have right now that they can outfit the entire team in.
Yeah, it's good that you got enough players, but it's bad that they don't have enough uniform. It's something that never has, I guess, came up really before because we usually have 30 players playing by this time of the year.
From what I understand, though, when Jerry Minot was there, he bought enough sweatsuits to outfit the entire school and ball shorts.
Yeah.
Well,
apparently he spent their equipment money
on ball shorts.
On ball shorts and sweatsuits. I don't know what that was about, but apparently there's some people out there that have some nice sweatsuits and ball shorts.
I gotta say this too. I'm pretty disappointed in the Cougar Nation last night.
The crowd was down. They weren't,
especially coming off a win.
Yeah.
Not just a win, a big win over Clinton.
Coming off a win, this was a game that by all appearances we probably should have competed much better in until the injury and the fact that Blank came back. Because Central was only 2, and I think they beat Halls and
Clinton. They beat Halls and Clinton.
Yeah. Central only had 2 wins as well. So the big part, it was a decent crowd at first, not a full house by any means, but
I
got down 13-0. Everybody split.
I realize that there's a ton of just awful haunted houses throughout the land right now, but really, people, come on. These kids get out here and work hard every week, and we better go to Pleasant Ridge and go to a crappy haunted house.
So everybody leaving when it was 13-0 in the second quarter. It started clearing out.
And
by the third quarter, that place was empty.
And honestly, even at the beginning, the crowd, I don't know, they weren't into the game.
Central's crowd was louder than Campbell County.
They were, from the very beginning.
And also, I found it strange that the band refused to play before halftime because the girls were singing the national anthem.
Yeah, that was a pretty terrible move on their part.
I'm not sure exactly what happened. That's what we were told. I'm not sure. I don't know. The band would get jealous or something.
I mean, they do a great job. Their halftime shows fine entertainment. But what I'm saying is to not do that pregame just because they decided to let a couple girls sing the national anthem. I mean, I realize they didn't tell them about it beforehand, but I mean, really?
Well, it does scream at one. It screams at bad planning.
Yeah, that's poor planning on someone's part, and there's no reason to take that out on the crowd, the team, all that.
But honestly though, the 3 young people that they had singing the national anthem did a wonderful job.
Yeah,
They really did.
Really great.
It was good.
What was the boy's name? I don't remember his name. I'm sorry.
Brandon. I don't know his last name.
It was Lauren Roberts, Victoria McCullough, and Brandon. We're sorry we don't remember your last name, but you all three did a great job.
They were extremely nervous seeing in front of the large crowd.
Lauren did a fabulous job last year at Jacksboro.
I never heard her sing the national anthem at Jacksboro last year. She did a really good job. I would like to see him come back for 8th grade night.
Yeah, if you three are out there watching, we'd like to see you at Jacksboro Thursday night. I'll use the microphone. I don't care what those other people think.
It'll be fine.
Speaking of Jacksboro, they had a win in the Egg Bowl over LaFollette. It was a very grinded out kind of game.
A lot of hard hitting, of course. LaFollette's just in a bad spot right now, talent wise and everything else.
LaFollette had a tough go. They
Had a tough off season,
and they really. In this game, they really struggled a lot. You could really see that they were struggling on the field. I think a lot of it has to do with, as we mentioned before, they lost quite a bit of leadership, not just coaching staff-wise, but also they had a lot of 8th grade Raiders last year. They moved on. So
a lot of good players.
Well, and you got to look at it too. Jacksboro has had the same core coaching staff in Miller, Peel, and Lasky.
Yeah.
And Travis Leach has actually been there almost as long, in place for the last 5-6 years.
Right.
LaFollette had a quickly cobbled together coaching staff. And it's not a shot at these guys. These guys were literally brought in a mere matter of weeks before the season started. I don't think LaFollette got to have spring practice.
The main thing I'm hoping for at LaFollette, and I'd like to see this out of Jacksboro as well, I'd like to see them start working with the Justin Price and his offensive staff and Matt and the defense to try to start implementing some of their schemes into their play.
And in Jacksboro's defense this year, Matt and Justin took over at such a late time. It would have been hard to switch that system in.
I say this for LaFollette. They really, I'm not sure what they're doing on offense, but neither are they, and that's the bad thing.
I think that's one of the things that is hurting them so much is
there's no consistency.
There's no consistency. I think the kids are getting confused.
Repetition is the key to getting better at anything.
You find what
General Nealon, back when he used to have practice at Tennessee, he would want them to execute. He would run one play 100 times if he had to until they did it perfectly.
Some of the teams, even that. Let's look at Carnes. They just ran all over us. They pretty much ran like 3 plays the entire game.
If you have 5 plays that you're really good at, you only need 5 plays.
Honestly, even the year that Matt and Justin and all of them played at Jacksboro, you had a basic 5-play.
Look at it this way: the best team by far I've ever saw on the middle school level, because I didn't get to see the team that Jacksboro filled in. It was really good. It was the Oneida last week, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Oneida ran the single. That's the simplest offense you can run. You just directly snap it, and the guy heads down the field behind his blockers.
And that's what. If you didn't get to see it and you're a LaFollette fan, I hate to say it, but you're going to see it this week.
Yeah.
It's. I'm not sure. Did you ever have the actual horse mannered school?
No, but I'm pretty sure that Oneida wound up dominating them.
But it's a simple offense. If you execute it properly, it'll work. That's what General Nealon always said. General Nealon ran the single wing for years. They told him he couldn't win with the single wing.
Right.
And he said, "I'll win the national." He came back in World War II. Said, "I'll win the national championship in 5 years."
Basically, they literally told him he was the rest of the coaches and said, "You're crazy for trying to run that on the college level," and he just came in and just took over with it.
He won 2 national championships in the next 5 years. After he said that he would be back, they said, "No, that's a thing of the past now." No. You ran it well. And Oneida runs it, and they run it well.
Yeah.
LaFollette should stick to an offense. Really, I honestly hope they'd stick to Justin's offense up at Campbell County. It'll help players at the next level. But just run one thing. Don't try to run spread, option, pro style, I formation, all in the same game. I mean, your kids can't know what's going on. That's too much for even anybody to remember.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, back to the Campbell County front. Defensively, and defense doesn't always get as much press as the offense. Nick Bailey had 16 tackles last night, 2 of which were for losses to lead the team, and that's an impressive number of hits.
And it really is. They have a couple of players that are really starting to shine. But the problem overall, especially last night, I'm not sure what was happening. They had a lot of players were trying to shoulder tackle and shoestring tackle, a couple of arm tackles. They weren't wrapping up. That was the big problem, is they weren't wrapping up and they were just getting pushed aside.
I mean, they had a few missed tackles, like Luke said. It's like on Blank's Big Run. You can watch it on YouTube on our Volunteer Times channel. Go to volunteertimes.com and watch it, and it'll be on that page too. But you see Blank, he's in the backfield, takes the handoff. 2 Cougars crash into him shoulder pad to shoulder pad. He just stands straight up, goes around the corner, and outruns everybody else. If you grab him by the waist or grab him by the legs, that's done. I mean, I know he's a good player, but he's a good player when he's running because he's so fast. He was standing there at that time. Don't try to kill shot people. That's what I tell every week. You try to say that. Don't try to kill shot people. Just try to tackle them. It happens at every level. I watched Tennessee do it in college, and it killed them. The Cincinnati's big 67-yard run a couple of weeks ago, shoulder pad to shoulder pad, kill shot. He just running back went sideways, stayed on his feet, was down. If you grab somebody by the waist, they're not going anywhere.
If you can grab somebody, even if you can't bring them down, you slow them down enough for your teammates.
Yeah. Right. These finish you off shots with shoulder pad to shoulder pad don't work, especially against the lead athletes like Cody Blank.
So next week against Deshaun Mobley, wrap him up, guys.
Take him down. Wrap him up and take him down.
Campbell County's defense overall, they gave up several big plays to Blank, which is understandable, but they were playing pretty well for a lot of the game. They just got put in bad spots. They got put in a terrible spot right before the end of the first half. It was 13-0 late in the second quarter, and we weren't out of it by any means at that point.
No.
But Campbell County, they got a big stopped them on 4th down, and it put Campbell County in a bad spot on offense. And this was after Tuffy had hurt his shoulder, and Campbell County's on the goal line basically. And they get it out to about the 1. And Tuffy throws that pass over there, and I think it was Isaac Phillips or Rudball. Rudball was wide open on the sideline, but he just, he was injured, I guess, and Tuffy didn't quite have the feel for it and just overthrew him slightly. That would have been a touchdown. Instead of a touchdown, we have to punt right there. The punt only travels about maybe 20 yards, and Central gets a 10 or 12 yard run back. They end up with 1st and goal right before the half.
So it's
the defense
not a position. Not a position to put your defense.
It took Central 4 downs to score, but they still was able to score right before the half. The defense was out there a lot because the offense couldn't move the ball, and the offense not moving the ball, but the defense. Central's starting around midfield most of the game. Mm-hmm. And that's just a hard spot to put your defense in. I'm actually happy with the defense. They've improved dramatically over the course of the season.
Absolutely. Sure.
And they still have their moments when they break down. And it turned out Grace Christian is actually an outstanding team. But watching them in that 7-on-7, that Grace Christian was just repeatedly burning Campbell County secondary.
Right.
And it turned out Grace is one of the better teams in the area. They can't play in the playoffs because they're on probation, but they're probably the best private school in East Tennessee right now.
And that's impressive considering some of the other private schools just in East Tennessee.
Yeah. Usually Catholics up there dominating towards
Catholic, Webb.
Central.
Knox Christian Academy normally has just an outstanding team too.
Pretty much when they played, Grace Christian's dominated those teams this year.
Well, fans, that's going to about do it for this segment of Sports Chat. We got another segment coming up. We got pro football, college football, non-football sports actually go on this time of year. We'll see you then.